Welcome back to our channel. Today we'll be remembering several legendary artists who died today and in recent days. We'll look back at voices that shaped entire generations, stories woven from both triumph and hardship. From the timeless melodies of Crofts and Charles Strouse to the powerful presence of Max Romeo and David Thomas, their journeys reveal a depth that goes far beyond the spotlight. Even as they have passed away, their influence continues to echo through music and memory. And what really defines the legacy of Ringo Starr? Now, let's begin. Alan Osmond was a pioneering American musician, born on June 22, 1949, in Ogden, Utah, and widely recognized as the oldest member and guiding force behind the Osmonds. He was also the older brother of Marie Osmond, the only sister in the celebrated performing family. From the age of 8, he led his brothers with remarkable discipline and vision, helping transform a small family act into a global phenomenon that defined pop culture in the 1970s. While others stood in the spotlight, Alan built the foundation that made their success possible. His journey was not without profound hardship. A decades-long battle with multiple sclerosis gradually took away his ability to perform, forcing him to step away from the stage he helped create. Yet his spirit never retreated. He once expressed that the illness might affect his body, but never his purpose, and he lived that belief with quiet strength and dignity. Beyond music, Alan devoted himself to meaningful causes. He co-created the Children's Miracle Network Telethon, raising more than $2 billion for children's hospitals, and founded the One Heart Foundation to support vulnerable children. Alan Osmond passed away peacefully on April 20th, 2026, at the age of 76, surrounded by his family. The cause of his passing was not publicly disclosed. His legacy is not only heard in music, but felt in the lives he uplifted, proving that true greatness often stands just beyond the spotlight. Crofts was a legendary American singer and songwriter born in Texas, whose gentle voice helped define the soft rock sound of the 1970s. He rose to fame as one half of Seals and Crofts, transforming from a small-town musician into a million-selling artist whose melodies became the soundtrack of a generation. With timeless hits such as Summer Breeze, Diamond Girl, and Get Closer, the duo achieved 3 top 10 singles, while Summer Breeze reached double platinum and Diamond Girl earned gold status, securing their place in music history. Yet their journey was not without turbulence. In 1974, their song Unborn Child, shaped by their Baha'i beliefs, sparked widespread backlash and radio boycotts, significantly impacting their mainstream momentum and testing their artistic convictions. Still, Crofts remained unwavering, choosing integrity and faith over popularity. As his name appears in the famous deaths news this week, the world reflects on the fragility of life, even for those whose music feels timeless. Crofts passed away on March 25, 2026, at the age of 87, from heart failure after years of heart-related illness. He leaves behind a legacy of warmth, harmony, and songs that continue to drift through the world like a summer breeze. Charles Strouse was a legendary American composer born on June 7, 1928 in New York City, whose melodies became woven into the fabric of Broadway history. He rose to fame with Bye Bye Birdie in 1960, transforming from a classically trained musician into a defining voice of American musical theater. With unforgettable songs like Put on a Happy Face, Tomorrow and It's the Hard Knock Life, Strouse helped shape a golden era, earning 3 Tony Awards and contributing to shows that ran for thousands of performances. He showcased extraordinary range across more than 7 decades, composing for stage, film, and television, including the iconic theme, "Those Were the Days," for All in the Family. While the public often looks for the names of American legends who died today to honor the greats of the past, Strauss's place in both the Songwriters Hall of Fame and the Theater Hall of Fame ensures his work remains eternal. Yet his journey was not without setbacks. Several productions closed quickly, testing his resilience in an unforgiving industry. Still, he remained devoted to creation. Charles Strouse passed away on May 15, 2025, at the age of 96 from natural causes. His life reminds us that true artistry endures through both triumph and failure. He leaves behind a legacy of timeless melodies that will echo for generations. Breaking news! At 85, Ringo Starr still raises his hand in that familiar gesture of peace and love, his smile soft, his presence gentle, as if time itself has chosen to protect him from the harshness it shows others. But behind that quiet warmth lies a truth far more fragile, a truth that has followed him since childhood and never once let go. How does a man loved by the entire world still carry the fear of being left behind? He gave rhythm to history. He gave joy to generations. Yet, when the lights fade and the crowds disappear, one question still echoes in the silence. Was he ever truly enough? Or was he always just one step away from being replaced? Before he was Sir Ringo Starr, he was Richard Starkey, a boy born into hardship in 1940 Liverpool, where life did not begin with dreams but with survival. And the sky above his childhood was not filled with possibility, but with warplanes, sirens, and the distant tremble of bombs shaking the fragile walls of his home. His mother held him close through nights that never felt safe, whispering comfort she could barely believe herself. And then, at just 3 years old, his father walked away without a word, leaving behind not just absence, but a question that would shape his entire life. If the first man who should have stayed could leave so easily, what did that say about him? If abandonment carved the first wound, illness nearly erased him completely. At 6, a routine medical procedure turned into a life-threatening crisis when he developed peritonitis, falling into a coma that silenced the room around him. When he woke, he did not return to a normal childhood, but to a hospital bed that would become his world for nearly a year. The laughter of other children existed behind glass, out of reach, while he lay still, learning too early that life could continue without you. And then, just as he began to rebuild, another blow arrived. Tuberculosis at 13, forcing him into isolation once again, 2 years removed from everything that might have made him feel whole. By the time he returned, he was not just behind in school, he was behind in life, carrying a quiet belief that he had been forgotten before he ever had a chance to be seen. But inside those silent hospital walls, something extraordinary began to beat quietly against the emptiness. A nurse placed a small percussion tool into his hands, and for the first time, he felt something respond to him, something answer back. And rhythm became his voice before he had the confidence to speak, his identity before he had the words to define himself. While the world saw a boy too weak, too slow, too late, something inside him refused to disappear, tapping gently, stubbornly, building the foundation of a life no one could yet imagine. When he returned to Liverpool, the world did not open its arms. It hardened around him. Too fragile for heavy work, too far behind for school, he stepped into factory life where machines roared louder than hope. 10-hour shifts, cold air, tired hands, and the constant reminder that survival was the only expectation placed on him. But even there, hidden between the noise and exhaustion, he kept tapping, turning every surface into a drum, refusing to let silence define him. In 1957, everything shifted when his stepfather gifted him a worn, as imperfect drum kit. To others, it was nothing more than scrap, but to him it was possibility, it was escape, it was proof that something in his life could finally belong to him. He practiced until his hands hurt, until the rhythm drowned out every doubt he carried. Small clubs, cheap gigs, sleepless nights. This was not success, but it was movement. And for someone who had spent years trapped in hospital beds, movement was everything. By the time he joined Rory Storm and the Hurricanes, he had begun to carve a place for himself. Yet even as crowds cheered, the old fear remained untouched. He played perfectly, he showed up, he gave everything, yet inside, a quiet voice kept whispering, "This can be taken away at any moment." And then came 1962, the moment history would remember forever, but the moment that would test him more than anything before. When Ringo Starr joined the Beatles, the world did not welcome him. It rejected him. Fans protested, voices shouted that he did not belong, that he should be replaced, and for a man whose deepest fear was exactly that, the wound cut deeper than anyone realized. Even within the band, uncertainty lingered. Small tests, small doubts, small reminders that his place was never guaranteed. But while everything around him shook, his rhythm did not. It was steady, human, imperfect in the most perfect way, becoming the heartbeat that carried the Beatles forward into history. And when Beatlemania erupted, it did so with a force that no one could control. Fame came like a storm. Screaming crowds, endless travel, exhaustion that lived in the bones, and a life so fast it left no space to breathe. He smiled for the world, he played for the world, but in quiet hotel rooms, alone with his thoughts, the old fear returned stronger than ever. In 1964, illness struck again, forcing him to step away from the band temporarily, and in that moment, everything he feared became real. Another drummer took his place, even if only for a short time, and as he lay in bed, watching it unfold, he felt history repeating itself, as if he had always been temporary, always replaceable. That he later admitted it was one of the darkest emotional moments of his life, not because of the illness, but because it confirmed the fear he had carried since childhood. As success grew, so did distance. The Beatles were no longer just friends. They were individuals, moving in different directions, pulled apart by fame, by creativity, by pressure. Ringo, often quiet, often overlooked, began to feel invisible again, even inside the greatest band in the world. In 1968, he walked away briefly, wounded by criticism, searching for a place where he could simply exist without feeling like he had to prove himself. And then, in 1970, it ended, not with closure, not with peace, but with silence. The Beatles dissolved, and with them, the only family he had ever truly felt part of. And it was not just a career ending, it was a loss that left him standing alone once again, facing the same emptiness he had known as a child. What followed was not freedom. It was collapse. Without the structure of the band, without the identity it gave him, Ringo found himself lost. Alcohol became comfort. Substances became escape. And slowly, quietly, his life began to unravel. This was not a dramatic fall, but a quiet fading. A man disappearing inside himself while the world remembered only who he used to be. His marriage to Maureen Cox, once filled with simplicity and love, could not survive the weight of fame and distance. The betrayal involving someone he trusted deeply did not just break the relationship. It broke something inside him. And when she later passed away from leukemia, the grief carried not only loss, but regret, memory, and the unbearable weight of what could never be changed. By the late 1970s and into the 1980s, he had reached a point where everything seemed to be slipping beyond control. Addiction tightened its grip, relationships fractured, and the man who once stood before millions was now struggling to hold himself together. There were moments where the line between who he had been and who he was becoming began to blur, and for a time, it seemed as if the rhythm that once saved him might finally fall silent. But survival had always been his greatest strength. In 1988, alongside Barbara Bach, he made a choice that would redefine his life. He chose to stop running. Rehabilitation was not easy, not immediate, but it was real. And for the first time in decades, he faced the silence instead of fearing it. Step by step, he rebuilt himself, not as the legend the world expected, but as the man he had never fully allowed himself to be. Even then, life continued to test him. The loss of John Lennon in 1980 and George Harrison in 2001 did not just take away friends. It took away the last pieces of a brotherhood that had defined his existence. Each loss reopened something deep within him, reminding him once again that love, no matter how strong, does not always stay. And yet, through everything, he continued. He returned to the stage, to the music, onto the rhythm that had carried him through every storm. His all-star band became more than a project. It became proof that he was still here, still standing, still alive in a world that had taken so much from him. Now, in his later years, his body begins to slow, his health sending quiet warnings through fatigue, illness, and time itself. COVID, immune challenges, the natural weight of aging, these are battles he can no longer ignore. But even as his steps become slower, his spirit does not fade. At 85, he still stands before the world, lifting his hand, smiling, reminding everyone watching that resilience is not about never falling. It is about never disappearing. He is still alive, because here is the truth that defines his entire life, the truth that echoes louder than any song he ever played. The world never stopped calling his name, but he never stopped wondering if he truly belonged. And perhaps that is why his story matters so deeply, because it is not just the story of a musician, not just the story of fame, but the story of a human being who carried invisible battles while giving visible joy to millions. If his music has ever touched your heart, if his rhythm has ever carried you through a difficult moment, then perhaps his story deserves more than admiration. It deserves to be felt, to be understood, to be remembered. Because in remembering Ringo Starr, we are not just honoring a legend, we are honoring the quiet strength inside all of us, the part that keeps going, even when life has taken more than it has given. If his music has ever lived in you, let it stay, and let us continue the memory of a soul that never stopped beating, even when the world changed around him. Max Romeo was a legendary Jamaican reggae singer and songwriter, born Maxwell Livingston Smith in 1944, whose voice helped shape the sound and spirit of roots reggae. He rose to fame with the provocative hit Wet Dream in 1968, transforming from a struggling young worker into an international charting artist as the song reached the top 10 in the United Kingdom despite being banned from radio airplay. He later redefined his artistry in the 1970s, using music as a powerful reflection of Jamaica's political unrest and spiritual awakening. His landmark 1976 album War Ina Babylon, created with Lee "Scratch" Perry, produced enduring classics like Chase the Devil, a song that would be sampled across decades, securing his influence far beyond reggae. Over a career spanning more than 25 albums and 75 singles, and he became one of the defining voices of his era. Even as the industry prepares various celebrity tributes 2026 to honor the icons who paved the way for modern music, Romeo's contributions to spiritual and political songwriting remain unmatched. Yet, his journey was marked by hardship, from early struggles with poverty to later career declines as musical trends shifted. Still, he remained committed to his message and continued performing worldwide. Max Romeo passed away on April 11, 2025, at the age of 80, from heart complications. He leaves behind a legacy of resistance, spirituality, and timeless sound that continues to challenge, heal, and inspire. David Thomas was not just a musician, but a force of disruption in American rock, born in 1953 and raised in the industrial heart of Cleveland. He did not follow music's rules, he dismantled them. Rising to prominence as the frontman of Pere Ubu, he transformed raw noise, fractured melodies, and unfiltered emotion into a blueprint for what would later become post-punk and alternative rock. With early releases like 30 Seconds Over Tokyo and the groundbreaking album The Modern Dance in 1978, Thomas helped redefine what music could sound like. Though never chasing commercial success, his work echoed through generations, influencing bands from Joy Division to Pixies. Across more than a dozen albums and constantly shifting lineups, he remained the band's unyielding core. His path, however, was never easy. On early projects collapsed before recognition, and his uncompromising vision often stood at odds with mainstream expectations. While his passing was noted among the recent celebrity deaths that deeply impacted the underground music scene, his influence continues to resonate. In his later years, he faced a long illness, continuing to create even while knowing his final recordings might be his last. David Thomas passed away on April 23, 2025, at the age of 71. His life reminds us that true originality is rarely comfortable, but always unforgettable. He leaves behind a legacy not of conformity, but of fearless artistic rebellion. Gwendolyn "Blondie" Chisolm was a pioneering voice in early hip-hop, a woman who helped shape a movement before the world fully understood its power. Born and raised in South Carolina, she stepped onto the scene in 1979 as a co-founder of The Sequence, transforming from a small-town teenager into one of the first female artists signed to Sugar Hill Records. With the breakout hit "Funk You Up," the trio etched their names into music history, delivering one of the earliest hip-hop records to reach international audiences. The song would echo across generations, later influencing and being reworked by major artists, proving its lasting cultural impact. Across 3 albums, Chisolm helped lay the foundation for women in hip-hop, long before the industry made space for their voices. Yet behind the rhythm was a quieter struggle. And despite their influence, she and her groupmates often faced financial hardship, watching others profit from the sound they helped create. When her passing recently reached the headlines of celebrity news, it served as a poignant reminder of the resilience required by those who break new ground. Still, she carried her passion forward, grounded in creativity. Gwendolyn Chisolm passed away on April 6, 2026, at the age of 66, following a brief illness. Her story reminds us that true pioneers are not always the loudest, but they change everything. She leaves behind a legacy of courage, rhythm, and a voice that helped open doors for generations to come.